Number 4, you ready? Acts of service. Acts of service. Write that down. It means just simply doing things for other people. Here's what he said in the book. He says, he asked a question. He says, can vacuuming the floors or doing the dishes really be an expression of love? And the answer is absolutely. Guys, especially if you see your bride drowning, man, at least the good news today, guys, we have the opportunity to pause the TV during the football game. All right, so we don't have to miss it when we go help out around the house, or pause the baseball game or the NBA playoff game. Go help out. And the same thing the other way, ladies. Just if you seem strung out, stressed out, worried, what can I do for you? One of my acts of service always seems to be when my bride or my kids ask me, hey, do you want to take my car today? Here's what I've learned. That means when I start the car, that little orange empty sign is going to be on. And it's probably time to get the car washed.
You're so good at it, though.
I am good at that. So anyway, acts of service.
Well, it's interesting. You know, we've already shared that we're trying to be better in the gift-giving area. But we asked ourselves as we were thinking about today, what's the best gift I ever gave you? Or what's the, we hardly could remember the gifts. But when we asked ourselves, what's the best thing I ever did for you under acts of service? Man, we could just spout off. I remember when, and I remember when. That's just what really touches our heart. And this, again, kind of like quality time, is something that changes with whatever phase you're in, and it changes with your children, it changes with your coworkers, this definitely does. But I remember when John Mark and I were first married, we got married because that run went so well, and I applied here in Dallas, knew nothing about the Dallas area, and ended up at a job in the Farmers Branch, Josie Lane and Harry Hines area. Knew nothing about the area, and got here, was supposed to be the cross-country track coach and an English teacher, and when I showed up, I was now the basketball coach and an English teacher. But the problem was I never played a sport that had a ball in it, so I was struggling. I was struggling a little bit with that, and so I'll never forget. He was working at First Baptist Dallas at the time, and full-time seminary student, and he came to my first game, and I'd been telling him I don't really know what I'm doing, and he came to my first game and watched my junior high girls play, and he said, put him in a zone. He sent a note over, put him in a zone. And I sent a note back over through our little manager girl, and I said, they are. It was so sad. And so he said, call a Saturday practice. So literally every day he worked it out with our administration. He would come after seminary and he would coach me, really. And then the next day I would coach the younger girls, whatever he would say. But it was just that time that he gave up, that act of service that he gave up to spend time with me, helping me in a weak area. And I think this is something that our acts of service should target. If he's not very good at organization, then I try to help him in that area of service. Whatever that your coworker, your mate, your children, whatever their weaker areas are, those are great areas to target for service. But that was just something. By the way, we ended up doing pretty well in basketball, but and have some great stories for it. But it was definitely a sacrifice of time.
And we look back and think back of some of those sweet years. Some great things came out of that, and that was not what I wanted to do. When she first took the job and she walked in, she goes, I'm the head basketball coach. I went, oh boy. And then I said, well, when you get into season, the head basketball coach, the varsity coach, come down and give you some offenses, give you some defenses. And she would say, man, they're not helping me at all. No one's coming to practice. And I'm thinking in my mind, surely they're giving her more help than she's saying. She just lacks confidence. And of course, I'm like, sweetheart, you're doing good. You'll be great. You'll be awesome. You'll be this. And then I went to the first game and they were terrible. And I am sitting across and they are getting drilled by this team at halftime. I mean, they're already down by 25 points, and the girls are just getting taken advantage of by kids that have been playing basketball all their life. These girls had never played basketball. And so I literally called the trainer over, ripped out a piece of my day timer, and I told him, I said, hand this to Gina. And it said, put them in a zone. She wrote, they are in a zone. And I go, it's a bad zone. All right. And so we ended up, the rest of the year, we worked it out with the principal because he knew they hadn't gotten the help. And I would drive by and work with her at practice. And whatever I did in that afternoon practice, she would do with the girls the next before school practice, and it worked that way. And I would sit behind her at the game and go, put in number 32 for number 5. That's exactly what happened.
That is what happened.
And tell them about your technical foul.
It was your fault. That's what I'm going to tell him.
It was.
He told me I needed to get the refs' attention, and because they were calling one-sided, which our girls were pretty aggressive, but they were calling one-sided, and so I stood up. And you have to, ladies, you have to picture me. I'm in my Laura Ashley dress. Y'all remember those, with my Papagallo shoes and my big bow in my hair. And so I stand up and I stomp my foot, and I was like, "Would you open your eyes and make a call?" And so he teed me. He gave me a technical. He teed me up right there. I was so embarrassed. It was a home game, and so I turned around and just glared at him. I was like, "That is not what I was so embarrassed."
Like, that's awesome, man. I said, "You got his attention."
I like the non-contact sports much better, is what we decided. But acts of service, that was definitely something that stuck out, to us and in our minds.
Yeah. All right. Galatians chapter 5, put it up on the screen. Notice what it says. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in the Lord. Man, serve one another humbly. That goes for husbands and wives. That goes for our friends. That goes for relationships. The office as well. Boy, you really want to change the dynamic of what's going on at the office. Consider that.